brainwashes you. You know, they find what you're interested in, and that's what it's all geared up. Okay, like, you know, I've been a biker, motorcyclist, all my life. But, you know, when I went back into broadcasting, I focused more on broadcasting than riding my motorcycle. So I had all these friends that used to be on my Facebook. I don't see any of theirs posts. All I see is paranormal posts, ghost hunters, Bigfoot, and UFO posting all day long. So they knew by my couple postings a day about UFOs, my shows and stuff like that. Now I'm flooded with the people that think the same way. And it doesn't, how can I say it? I mean, it's like a repeat of watching the same show over and over and over.
Yeah. No, it's all the whole idea of like marketing, you know, like let's get the products to the people so that they can buy them. And, you know, like even to the point with some things, like since I've had a phone again is, you know, I can't say for 100%, but I mean, I know a joke with other friends and they say it too, is this idea that you can almost say something on your phone and the next thing you know, it's like you mentioned, like, you know, someplace in Jamaica or something like that. Next thing you know, you're getting ads popping up about it. You know?
I'm going to warn you a little bit about this. One of the guests, and actually he's going to have a show on my network, but he was with the DOD, I think, for Department of Defense for, I think, 13, 14, 15 years. And I'm going to tell you, the things that you think that is private on your phone, right? Like you got your phone turned off, or you got your phone sitting in your pocket, you got it on your couch, or if you got a smart TV, you know, and all of a sudden you start talking about things. All of a sudden it starts popping up on your, you know, Facebook, or you turn your phone on, and all of a sudden you got an ad on there for something you're talking about. A perfect case, I had a guest on my show was talking about a certain beach bike, custom made bike, you know, limited edition. Couldn't find it. Talking to his wife, his cell phone was sitting there, I guess, right there at the coffee table in their living room. The next morning, they get in their car, and they're going to go out, and they're going to, you know, go out for breakfast and whatever. Turns his phone on. Guess what pops up?
Yeah, ad for the bike.
Yeah, the ad for the bike and who had it. Now, and what he told me is that your phone are kind of monitored, and depending on who you are, what you are. So he said you got to be really careful what you type on your internet, what you say around your phone, and who you talk to, because even if you talk to the wrong people, you get on this little list. And he mentioned there's 2 places where the DOD has big, huge buildings, and all they do is monitor communications, both internet and, you know, on your phone, and that is scary.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's the total Big Brother. They have that. Like people, you know, used to be this sort of, you know, 1984 Orwellian kind of fantasy or something like that. But it's one of the things they, you know, have to find out what's going on. You know, you really want to monitor, you know, people's thoughts and ideas and, you know, what people are saying and what people are thinking. And, you know, I think the nation that's really perfecting, well, I shouldn't say perfecting it, I'm not a really big fan of it, but the idea in China now, China has all kinds of stuff with cameras, face recognition, and they've even applied a kind of like a social score, so that not only are you monitored and not only are you, you know, everything's itemized that you do, that you end up with a certain score, and that score will basically give you the ability to do things in life, or if you have a low score, the ability not to do things, or not to travel, or not to do whatever. So that's one of the issues with technology, that it makes that all very easy. And so sometimes with technology is that if you allow yourself to, you know, be part of that system, well, there's, you know, it's not just about convenience. There's lots of other hidden things that, you know, go on, that go along with it. Basically, every time you hit that agree box, you know?
Well, it's scary. I mean, if you talk about what's going on in China, yeah, that is really bad. It even makes a difference if you get a job or not, or your career, if you're going to ever have a career, or if you're going to be living out on the street. That's how bad that technology's gotten. Now, is that going to filter eventually into our country and all the other countries? I bet you it will. And that's what's scary. And so if you want to talk about conspiracy, there's a big one right there going on.
Yeah, yeah. So the idea that, all this technology, I think what's going to happen, I think there's some people, I mean, I'm sort of like I said, I'm a bit of an analog person, is people will not embrace it wholeheartedly like they did in the past. People are going to use it in a limited way, or they will eliminate parts of it in their life, because it's not all that it's cracked up to be, for, as we're finding now. Like, 5 years ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Everyone, oh, it's great, and you can do this, and, the world's, such a communicated place. And then we realized, you actually, you might have 700 Facebook friends, but you don't really know anybody in your neighborhood or whatever, and you sit at home alone or something, So these are things where technology, it has the best intentions, but, sometimes it's not all it's cracked up to be. And I think people, especially with young people, and you're learning and stuff, and, like you were mentioning, children and your grandchildren, like to see, a child parked in front of an iPad or something like that. And, I guess I was parked in front of a TV for a long time, but I did, get away from it, and, was more later in life and got more into books. And I don't own a TV. I haven't, we watch movies every so often. We have a little library of movies, but, it's not like we're up watching the nightly news and stuff like that. Like, there's another one too, is television. There was a great quote I always remember where a gentleman had a friend over, and his friend, he was trying to get him to pry his brother, who was some high up in the intelligence community, and he couldn't get him to share anything. I can't talk about anything. I can't say anything about my job, stop bugging me and stuff like that. And he said, we went out and had a few drinks and kept, I didn't bug him, but then I sort of tried him a bit. And this gentleman was saying that, okay, well, if anything, don't watch television. And he wouldn't tell him why or anything, but just, a simple thing like that. Like, if you want something, okay, don't watch television. The idea that, again, it's a programming tool. It gives us a vision. It tells us what our reality can be, or what should be, or, and then we don't have to visualize it for ourselves. We don't have to think about it. We can park ourselves in front of this screen and live vicariously through it. We don't have to.
Well, it's so true. I'm at the age where I am one of the people that can say I watched Leave It to Beaver when it was real, live, not, been played 8 million times on TV. But I'll tell you what, that and the Donna Reed show and all those Dr. Welby or whatever that was, what they did? They gave you something that was not real. They gave you a fake being of what this is how a family should be. No family was ever like Leave It to Beaver or the Donna Reed show or Father Knows Best. It was totally out there. But that's how people were judging themselves. But, and people tried living up to it and they couldn't. And what scares me is like our technology, how it's advanced to the level it is now. You talk to your kids and it's like you're talking to strangers. And, when I was a kid, we knew the neighbors up and down. We lived in Seattle. We knew the up and down at least a block and a half each direction. And, every summer we get together for barbecues. If somebody had a problem or somebody passed on, we were there. Nowadays, people don't even know their own neighbor in an apartment complex or who lives behind them or next door to them or doesn't know much of them. And if something happened, would they help them? No. And that's because of brainwashing. And I hate to say it, because of TV, and all this stuff has taken the compassion away of what we should feel inside, and it's gone.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've seen it, I've heard of it explained as like almost like a lot of the social problems come from the family unit and a strong family unit. So the idea of if you don't have that sort of strong family unit, then that comes out of it. It's the classic thing of like, and, it's not a given, but the idea that, if you have somebody that's a single mom or something like that, or a single father or something like that, and, it's a hard thing to say either way, but this idea that by having that strong structure and then people being able to do it, it creates a strong community. And then by having a strong community, you create, a strong country. But then we have all these, like, again, another topic, this idea of the nationalism and the globalism that's going on in the world right now, and how almost like technology, they try to sell this idea of globalism, that it's this great thing and we're all going to be great and it's people first and all this, and, we're all one big happy planet or something. And then you find out what really goes on behind the scenes, and you find out that there's a lot of corruption, and there's a lot of things of actually, trying to destroy, nations and things like that, and using people and using immigration and different things to, actually destabilize nations. And we're seeing all kinds of things happening in Europe and with the EU and stuff like that, where some nations are sticking to the globalist plan, and other nations are saying, no, we can't go that far. Our people won't let us. We want to stay strong as a country. We don't want to, suddenly just melt into, this globalist idea. So it's tough times for people. Like they've got technology, they got, globalism, all these things that are going on, and there's a whole bunch of economic stuff going on too. The world is massively in debt, and what are they going to do about that? How can they resolve trillions of dollars in derivatives?
Well, hey, but you know what? That money never existed in the first place. Just think about that.
No, that's the thing about it that's interesting, is that the ones that can be left holding the bag are the central banks. The central banks are the ones that are left with the giant debt. Like, okay, so you have all this money, we're supposed to give it to you? It's like, well, no, nobody's going to give it to you. And if they don't, it's had a lot of power in the past, but that's another thing that's going on right now is it basically, I see a lot of things changing right now in the sense of control structures and people learning about control, and financial and debt has always been one of the big means to control an individual.
Well, that's what they want to do. You know what? They want to do that to us. They want you in debt, because if you're in debt over your head, they control you. The credit card companies, for example, right? They want you to max out your credit card. They do. And then after you max it out, what do? They raise your rate up for you, have more money to spend, knowing that you're going to, exceed the limit again, for they can do it again. And guess what happens? Now you have a debt for some people, depending on their income. Let's say they have $1,500 debt on their credit card. It's going to take them years and years to pay it off with the minimum payments. They do that purposely. Now, some of these people with their credit cards have 5 or 6 or 7 of them. They're under control. They're never going to get out of debt. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, we've also seen it with like the bubbles and stuff with the real estate and stuff, is by sort of artificially inflating prices with, homes. Vancouver's famous for it. And then, having it in an open market where anybody around the world can buy real estate. And then you create bubbles, and then, people have to spend huge amounts of money just to basically put a roof over their head. The same things happen in California and other, almost desirable places to live. If it's a nice place to live, well, rich people from around the world would like to buy property there if they're allowed to,
I don't know. It's scary. And then, we had the housing bubble, burst here. Then when that burst, they said, oh, we're never going to do that again. Or they would give people, they would go buy a house, right? They didn't even have to put down they had an income. They didn't even have a job. I don't even know how they got the money to get the mortgage, but the mortgage companies were happy. Oh, hey, we'll give you a loan for $250,000 or $500,000 to buy the house. They didn't even have a job, but the people were getting mortgages right and left. Then they said after the bubble, oh, that'll never happen again. The same thing has been going on the past year or so. People going out with and getting high mortgages with no money to back it.